The gunshot wound was bad, but I'd seen worse during my residency in the ER. What I hadn't seen before was 3 armed men bursting through the doors of my clinic at midnight, carrying their bleeding boss like he was royalty, which apparently he was. "Fix him," the largest one growled, his gun pointed casually in my direction. "Now, Dr. Elena Martinez," I reminded myself, "you survived medical school, a pandemic, and a terrible breakup. You can handle this. Put him on the table," I said, forcing my voice steady as I snapped on gloves. "And put that gun away. You shoot me and your friend dies." The wounded man on my exam table was younger than I expected, maybe 30, with dark hair and the kind of sharp, aristocratic features you'd see in a cologne ad. Even pale and bleeding, he was devastatingly handsome. His eyes, a striking gray-green, locked onto mine with an intensity that made my breath catch. "She's got fire," he murmured, his voice strained but amused. "I like that. Save your breath," I told him, cutting away his blood-soaked shirt. The bullet had gone through his shoulder, messy but not fatal if I worked fast. "This is going to hurt." "Not my first time, Oressa." I worked quickly, cleaning the wound, checking for fragments, stitching with practiced precision. My hands were steady even though my heart was racing. These men were clearly dangerous, clearly criminal. But the Hippocratic Oath didn't have a clause about checking your patient's moral character first. "You're good at this," the wounded man said, watching me work despite the pain. "Where did you train?" "Johns Hopkins," I replied automatically, then cursed myself for giving personal information. Impressive. What's a John Hopkins doctor doing in a free clinic in the worst part of the city? Paying off student loans and trying to help people who can't afford real health care. I finished the last stitch. "You're going to need antibiotics and rest. The wound needs to stay clean and—" "She's seen our faces, Dante," one of the armed men interrupted. "We can't just leave her here." My blood ran cold. The man I'd been working on, Dante, sat up slowly, testing his shoulder. His eyes never left mine. "No, we can't." "Look," I said quickly, backing toward the door. "I didn't see anything. I don't know who you are. I won't say anything to anyone." "Elena." He said my name like he'd known it all along, and I realized he must have seen it on my clinic door. "Dr. Elena Martinez, MD. I believe you, but my enemies won't. They'll assume you can identify me, identify my men. They'll come for you to get to me." "That's not my problem. It became your problem the moment you touched me." He stood, moving with surprising grace for someone who'd just been shot. "Which means you're coming with us." "Like hell I am." The large one moved fast, too fast. A cloth pressed over my mouth and nose, a sickly sweet smell, and then the world tilted sideways into darkness. I woke up in a bedroom that belonged in a palace, not a prison. Silk sheets, antique furniture, morning light streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked manicured gardens. For a confused moment, I thought I dreamed the whole thing. Then I tried the door. Locked. "Good, you're awake." A woman in her 50s entered, carrying a breakfast tray. She had kind eyes and the no-nonsense demeanor of someone used to being obeyed. "I'm Rosa. I've been instructed to make sure you have everything you need." "I need to leave," I said flatly. "I'm afraid that's not possible, but you have a private bathroom through that door, a closet with clothes in your size and breakfast. Mr. Dante will see you this afternoon." "Mr. Dante? Is that really his name, or does he just enjoy the irony?" Rosa's lips twitched. "His full name is Dante Valentino, and before you ask, yes, those Valentinos. The family runs this city and several others. Dante is the eldest son. A Mafia prince. Perfect. I'd saved a Mafia prince. "I'm a doctor," I told her desperately. "I have patients who need me, a clinic that depends on me. You can't just keep me here." "I'm very sorry," Rosa said, and she actually sounded like she meant it. "But these are dangerous times. There's a war brewing with the Russo family. If they discover Dante was injured, if they find out who treated him, they won't hesitate to torture you for information." "I don't have any information." "They won't believe that. And they won't be gentle in trying to extract what they think you know." She set the tray down. "Here you're safe. Uncomfortable, I'm sure, but safe." After she left, I ate mechanically, my mind racing. I had to get out. Had to get back to my clinic, my patients, my life. But the window was 3 stories up with no fire escape. The door was solid wood with a lock that looked brand new. And even if I did escape, Rosa was right. I'd seen their faces, heard their names. I could identify them. I was trapped. That afternoon, Dante appeared at my door, his shoulder professionally bandaged. He'd showered and changed into an expensive suit that fit him like it was custom-made, which it probably was. Despite everything, I couldn't help noticing how the charcoal gray brought out his eyes. "Dr. Martinez," he said formally, "thank you for your hospitality last night." "My hospitality. You kidnapped me. I saved your life," he corrected calmly. "There's a difference." "I don't see it." He stepped into the room, and I instinctively backed up. He noticed, stopping immediately, hands visible and non-threatening. "I understand you're angry," he said, "but I need you to understand the situation. The Russo family has been trying to take over our territory for months. Last night was their latest attempt. They shot me in what was supposed to be neutral ground, a clear violation of the old agreements. This means all-out war. And that affects me how? They had people watching the area. They'll know I was injured, and they'll be looking for whoever treated me. Your clinic is in their territory, Elena. They'll find it. They'll find you." The use of my first name felt too intimate, too familiar. "So let them find me. I'll tell them I don't know anything because I don't. They'll kill you anyway, just to be sure, or worse, they'll keep you alive to draw me out." His eyes darkened. "I won't let that happen. You don't even know me. You saved my life. That creates a debt." He moved to the window, looking out over the gardens. "In my world, debts are sacred. I protect what's mine, Dr. Martinez, and right now, whether you like it or not, you're under my protection. I'm a prisoner, not protected. You're a guest in my home. Guests can leave." He turned to face me, and for the first time, I saw something other than casual confidence in his expression. Something that looked almost like regret. "Not yet, but soon. I promise." Over the next week, I learned the contours of my cage. The Valentino estate was massive, a historic mansion on 20 acres, surrounded by walls and security. I had free access to most of the house during the day, though armed guards always seemed to be nearby. Rosa brought me books, movies, anything I requested. Dante visited every evening, ostensibly to have me check his wound, though we both knew it was healing perfectly. Those visits were the worst and best part of my day. Worst because each one reminded me I was trapped. Best because, God help me, I found myself looking forward to them. Dante was nothing like I'd expected. Yes, he was a criminal. Yes, he'd literally kidnapped me. But he was also intelligent, well-read, and genuinely interested in my work at the clinic. He asked about medical school, about why I'd chosen to serve an underserved community. He told me about growing up in the family business, about the weight of expectations and legacy. "My father built an empire," he said one evening as I changed his bandage. "Not just criminal enterprise, but legitimate businesses, too. Hotels, restaurants, construction. He wanted to give us options, you know, a way out if we chose it. But you didn't choose it," I observed. "My younger brother did. Marco went to business school, works in the legitimate side now, never touches the family business." There was pride in his voice, not resentment. "I stayed because someone had to. Because the alternative was watching everything my father built fall to people like the Russos, people with no honor, no code, who'd turned this city into a war zone. So you're a criminal with a conscience. I'm a man trying to protect my family and my city the only way I know how." His eyes met mine. "Does that make me irredeemable, Dr. Martinez?" I should have said yes. Should have maintained my distance, my moral high ground. Instead, I found myself saying, "I think people are more complicated than good or evil. I think we all make choices we have to live with." Something shifted between us in that moment. The air felt charged, heavy with unspoken things. "Elena," he said softly, my name a question and an invitation. I stepped back quickly, putting professional distance between us. "Your wound is healing well. You don't need me to check it anymore." "No," he agreed. "I suppose I don't." But he kept visiting anyway. On the 10th day, everything changed. I woke to the sound of gunfire. Scrambling out of bed, I ran to the window. Dawn was just breaking, and I could see figures moving through the gardens, too many figures, engaging in firefights with Dante's security. The Russos had found us. My door burst open. Dante stood there, fully armed, his face grim. We need to move now. What's happening? The Russos, they've somehow breached the perimeter. He grabbed my hand, pulling me into the hallway. I'm getting you out of here. What about you? I'll be fine. My men can handle this. We ran through corridors I'd never seen before, deeper into the mansion. Behind us, I could hear shouting, more gunfire. Dante moved with military precision, checking corners, his body always between me and potential danger. There's a panic room, he explained, urging me down a staircase. Reinforced walls, separate ventilation, communication equipment. You'll be safe there until... An explosion rocked the building. We stumbled, and I felt Dante's arms wrap around me, protecting me as debris rained down. When the dust cleared, the staircase behind us had collapsed. Shit! Dante pulled out his phone, typed quickly. The panic room's inaccessible now. We need to go to Plan B. What's Plan B? The old wine cellar. It connects to the tunnels my grandfather built during Prohibition. We can get you out through there. But as we ran, I realized something that made my blood run cold. Dante was limping. And when I looked down, I saw blood seeping through his pants. You're hit. It's nothing. You're hit, I repeated firmly, using my doctor voice. We need to stop the bleeding. Not until you're safe, Dante. I grabbed his arm, forcing him to stop. I'm not letting you bleed out because of some macho protective instinct. We stop. Now. For a moment, I thought he'd argue. Then he nodded, leading me into what looked like a library. I made him sit while I examined the wound. A bullet had grazed his thigh, painful but not life-threatening if we controlled the bleeding. Your medical bag, I said urgently. The one you had me keep in my room. Where is it? Elena, there's no time. Make time, unless you want to pass out before we reach these tunnels. He gave me directions, and I ran, my heart pounding. The bag was where he said, and I grabbed it, racing back. By the time I returned, his face was pale, his jaw clenched against the pain. I worked fast, cleaning and binding the wound with practiced efficiency. As I did, something occurred to me. You came for me first, I said quietly. When the attack started, you didn't go to secure your family or your men, you came for me. You're my responsibility. No, I'm your prisoner, there's a difference. Dante's hand caught mine, stilling my movements. You stopped being a prisoner the moment I realized I couldn't imagine letting anything happen to you. The words hung between us, loaded with meaning I wasn't ready to examine. Done, I said, securing the bandage. It'll hold until we can get somewhere safe. We made it to the wine cellar, a cavernous space lined with dusty bottles. Dante moved a specific rack, revealing a door behind it. The tunnel beyond was dark and smelled of earth and age. It comes out half a mile from here, Dante explained, pulling out a flashlight. There's a car waiting. My men have been instructed to take you anywhere you want to go. What about you? I'm going back. My family is still in there. My men, I can't abandon them. You're injured. I've fought with worse. He pressed something into my hand, a phone. This has one number in it, mine. When you're safe, call me. Let me know you made it. Dante, he kissed me. It was quick, desperate, tasting of blood and gunpowder and something indefinable that made my heart stutter. When he pulled back, his eyes were intense. I'm sorry, he said, for everything, for dragging you into this world, for not being able to let you go sooner. Then don't, I heard myself say. Don't go back, come with me. You know I can't do that. Why? Because of honor, because of some code. I gripped his jacket. You could die up there, and I will die knowing I got you out first. He gently removed my hands, stepping back toward the door. Go, Elena, live the life you're supposed to live, help your patients, make a difference. Forget about the Mafia prince who kidnapped you. What if I don't want to forget? The words came out before I could stop them, raw and honest and terrifying. Dante's expression cracked, showing vulnerability beneath the cold exterior. Then remember me fondly. Remember that knowing you, even for these few days, reminded me that there's good in the world worth protecting. He turned and ran back into the darkness, back toward the gunfire and chaos, leaving me alone in the tunnel. I should have run, should have taken the escape he'd given me and never looked back. Instead, I did something incredibly stupid. I followed him. By the time I caught up, Dante was back in the main house, coordinating with his men. He saw me and his eyes went wide. Elena, what the hell? I'm a doctor, I said firmly. You're going to have wounded, I can help. I told you to leave. And I told you I'm not letting you die. I grabbed his arm. You don't get to make this dramatic sacrifice while I run away. We both get out of this alive, or neither of us does. For a long moment, we stared at each other. Then, impossibly, he smiled. You're insane. I'm a doctor in a free clinic in the worst part of the city. We established that I'm insane a long time ago. The next hours were a blur of controlled chaos. I set up a triage center in what had been a formal dining room, treating wounded men from both sides, because that's what doctors do. Dante fought alongside his men, pushing back the Russo forces with a combination of tactical brilliance and sheer determination. By the time the sun fully rose, it was over. The Russos had retreated, leaving bodies and damage in their wake. Dante's family was safe, his home secured. I was finishing stitches on one of his guards when Dante found me. He was filthy, exhausted, and more beautiful than any man had a right to be. It's done, he said quietly. The Russos are suing for peace. This attack failed so spectacularly that their own people are questioning their leadership. Good. I tied off the last stitch. Now sit. Let me check your leg. He obeyed, which told me how exhausted he really was. The bandage I'd applied had held, and the wound looked clean. He'd been lucky. You should have run, he said as I worked. Probably. You should have taken the escape I gave you and never looked back. Definitely. Why didn't you? I looked up at him, at this complicated, dangerous, honorable man who'd kidnapped me and protected me and somehow wormed his way into my carefully guarded heart. Because somewhere between being kidnapped and being saved, I realized something terrifying, I said softly. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to go back to my life without you in it. Elena, I know it's insane. I know you're a criminal and I'm a doctor and we come from completely different worlds. I know this can't work. It can work, Dante interrupted, his hand cupping my face. If you want it to. If you're willing to try. How? I meant what I said before. My family has legitimate businesses. I've been trying to transition more of our operations into legal territory. It's slow and dangerous, and there will always be parts of my life that are dark. But I want to be better, for my family, for this city. His thumb brushed my cheek. For you, I can't ask you to change who you are. You're not asking, I'm choosing, because these past 10 days with you have shown me a different way to live, a better way. I should have been cautious. Should have taken time to think it through, to consider all the complications and dangers and impossibilities. Instead, I kissed him. This kiss was different from the desperate one in the tunnel. This was a promise, a beginning, a leap of faith into an uncertain future. When we finally broke apart, Dante smiled, a real smile, unguarded and young. So, he said, does this mean you're staying? On one condition. Name it. I go back to my clinic, I keep treating my patients, I keep being a doctor. Done. I'll even provide security, better equipment, whatever you need. And you start seeing a therapist. Someone who can help you process all of this. I gestured vaguely at the damaged house, the aftermath of violence. You can't carry this alone. He laughed, the sound surprised and genuine. You're negotiating terms for dating a Mafia prince? Someone has to keep you honest. Deal. He pulled me close, careful of his injuries. Anything else? I pretended to think. Rosa keeps cooking for me. I've gotten addicted to her pasta. That can be arranged. We stayed like that, holding each other in the wreckage of his dining room as the morning light grew stronger. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. There would be complications, dangers, moments when I'd question this insane decision. But as I looked at Dante, this man who'd kidnapped me and saved me and somehow become essential to my existence, I knew I'd made the right choice. Sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. Sometimes you find love in the last place you'd ever think to look. And sometimes, being kidnapped by a Mafia prince is exactly where you're supposed to end up. 6 months later, I stood in my newly renovated clinic, watching as patients filed through doors that actually worked properly. New equipment hummed efficiently. My staff had tripled. We could help so many more people now. Dante appeared in the doorway, watching me with that intense focus that still made my breath catch. How's your day? He asked. Saved 3 lives before lunch. You. Only 2, you're winning. I laughed, moving into his arms. It had become our joke, counting lives saved versus lives protected. Different methods, same goal. "Dinner tonight?" he asked, pressing a kiss to my temple. "Rosa's making that dish you love." "Can't. I have a late shift. Then I'll bring dinner here, we'll eat in your office. Between patients, between patients." His smile was soft content. "I told you, Dr. Martinez, I protect what's mine, even if that means sharing you with an entire neighborhood of patients. And I told you, Mr. Valentino, that I don't need protecting." "No," he agreed, "but you'll let me try anyway." As he left, I turned back to my work, to the patients who needed me, to the life I'd built that now included the most unlikely element. Love had found me in the darkness, carried in the arms of a wounded prince. And I'd found something I'd been missing without knowing it. A partner who understood that strength came in many forms, that healing and protecting were two sides of the same coin. I'd been kidnapped by the Mafia prince, and I'd never been more grateful for anything in my life. Thank you for joining me for Kidnapped by the Mafia Prince. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more thrilling romance stories. Your comments mean the world to me. Let me know what you thought and what kind of stories you'd like to see next. Until next time, keep reading and stay mysterious.